Hi there, and welcome to Enhancing the Human Experience. This is episode 40, and it's all about the power of perception and how to change it. So, in the game of life, perception is everything. I did a podcast a while ago, created one that was called One World, Many Experiences. And it talks about the fact that even though we all live on the same planet, we all come from the same place, and we're all going back to the same place, while we're here, we're all having, in some cases, vastly different experiences. I find that endlessly fascinating. So that podcast ties into this show about perception. At the end of the day, it really comes down to how we perceive ourselves and also how we perceive the world and other people. But in this episode of the podcast, we're only going to focus on that first component, how we perceive ourselves, because everything emanates from that. How you perceive yourself is going to affect how you show up in the world, the things you do, the things you say, and the experiences that you then in turn attract. So we're not going to worry about our perception of other people or our perception of the planet. When we change, everything else is going to change. Wayne Dyer talked about it, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so I'm going to share with you some of my ideas about perception and give you a simple kind of tool or program that you can incorporate into your personal development routine to change your perception. So before we get into how to do that, let's talk about what perception is. Now, I always like to start with definitions of perception of the thing that I'm talking about, the topic, because it helps to get a better understanding. So Oxford defines perception as our ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses, or the way something is regarded, understood, or interpreted. A lot in that definition right there. What we're going to focus on is our understanding of ourselves. When we change the way we understand ourselves and the way we regard ourselves and the way we interpret ourselves, we're going to do different things. We're going to act in different ways. We're going to create differently. We're going to show up in the world differently. And as we know, when we show up in the world differently, we attract different experiences. It's really a powerful process, but it all begins with us changing our perception. So let's look at how to do that. The first idea, I've got kind of three ideas here that I want to share about how to change your perception. And the first one is simply to develop an understanding that there is no ultimate reality. There's no perfect place that we're all trying to get to, or that we're all going to perceive the same thing as everyone else. And there can't be, because each of us is filtering the experiences that have happened to us and that are happening to us through our own consciousness and our own level of awareness. And as we grow up in life, the things that have happened to us affect that filter, and they change it, and they could, let's say, distort that filter. And if we hold on to that filter and keep looking at ourselves through that filter, those images, we're going to keep creating the same experiences over and over again. That's why changing the way we perceive ourselves is so important. But we first need to realize that there's no ultimate reality. There's the reality that each of us is having. On the planet of, 8 million people now on the planet? Everyone's having a different experience and different experiences because they have different perceptions. Because no two people have the same past or have had the same things happen to them, and therefore their consciousness has not been impressed in the same way, and that filter that we look at life through or look at ourselves through is very different for everyone. So that's the first thing, is to realize. I think in some sense, sometimes people get this notion that, well, there's this ultimate reality and that I need to align with it. Well, there's not an ultimate reality. We are in complete charge of how we see ourselves. This is the free will God gave mankind. And when you change how you see yourself, you're going to change the things you do and think and act in the world, to change the experiences that you're going to have. So that's the first thing, is just to realize that there is no ultimate reality. There's only the reality that you create by believing in your story or by having that impress your consciousness. In conjunction with number one, how do you change it? You just change it. And hopefully that my assistance in the first part there is saying, hey, there is no ultimate reality and you're creating it all, and you even created the story or allowed it to be created that is in your consciousness now, will help you understand that it's very easy to change. It's as easy to change as it was to put in. There's no magical formula that created the way you perceive yourself now over the course of your lifetime. It just happened. Day by day, inch by inch, your perception was formed. Then to change it, we do the same process. There's no magical formula. There's no hidden secret way. It happens over time, it happens systematically, and it's a process, just like everything in life. So the first thing is to understand that it can be changed, and it is a simple process. Not to say that it's easy, because our mental impressions and the way we've perceived ourselves have cut a deep groove in our consciousness. And in order to cut a new groove, we have to cut a deeper groove, right? We have to push out the old. The way to change anything in life is not to try to change what we don't want. The way to change something is to push into our consciousness what we do want. What we focus on expands, and what we think about, we will bring about in our state of being and in our state of consciousness. So when we stop giving energy to our old ways of being, or I'm this way or I'm that way, ways that don't serve us, they'll die on their own, right? We don't have to do anything to kill them off and develop new ways of being and new ways of perceiving ourselves. So realize it can just be done by just making a conscious decision to do it. Step 2 is to write down how you want to perceive yourself, right? I think a lot of the hang-ups that we realize in life or face in life are because we don't know how we want to be, or we don't know the things we want. There's so many choices in life, and there's so much information coming at us. This requires that we turn in and ask ourselves, how do I need to perceive myself in order to create the experiences that I want to have in life? And write down a list, right? Do you need to be more determined? Do you need to be more focused, committed? Do you need to be more outgoing? Do you need to be more driven? Those are all qualities or ways to perceive yourself that you can adopt. Anyone can adopt those things. Again, there's no magical way. It's just a program. It's a belief system. And you push that into your consciousness, you will adopt those ways. So make that list. Now, it's not a static list. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. And there may be things that you're going to cross off at times. There may be things that you're going to add to. But that list is vital as giving you a focus point to changing the way you perceive yourself. Number 3 is all about what we do with the list. What you do with the list is you have to incorporate it into your personal development or spiritual development routine every single day. The thing about the world is that everything's always tending toward chaos in the world. And this is all about the renewing of the mind and renewing of the spirit, renewing of the body. If we don't renew ourselves, and the most important aspect of ourselves to renew is our state of being and the way we perceive ourselves, everything will deteriorate over time. That's just the nature of the physical world that we live in. Everything is always tending to chaos. And renewing that is our gift, human beings' gift, because we can refocus our mind on anything we want. So every day in your personal development routine, it doesn't have to take a long time. It can just be a few minutes. Look at that list. Feel how it would be to embody the qualities on that list and to be that way. And look at yourself through the lens that list comprises. All those terms are kind of going in the hopper and giving you a filter with which to look at yourself. Now, one thing I want to caution is that because of the nature of mind and because of the nature of our past experiences, we have to be careful not to limit ourselves in the new perception that we're developing. And I don't know that there's a full, true way we can ever do that 100%, but just be aware of it. If you limit yourself, if you look, again, we really can't get away from the perception that we've already had. And so even when we're trying to change the way we perceive ourselves, we're looking at ourselves through our past perception. And so just be aware that there is still the filter in play as you're developing yourself. Not to be too concerned about it, but just be aware of it. And don't limit yourself. Go for the gusto, right? Once you know, back to step 1, that There's no ultimate reality. There's no ultimate your story. Everything is malleable. Everything has been malleable. You've allowed it to happen. Everything will change. Everything will change. Understanding that one key component, I think, is really critical. There's no fixed you. There's no fixed your future, right? Your future's not fixed. Your experiences aren't fixed. Everything is changeable. So those are my thoughts on the power of perception and how to change it. Again, a huge game changer in the game of life and really important. So I want to thank you for checking out this episode and tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already downloaded 21 Ways to Radically Enhance the Human Experience, you can do that on my website, gmarkphillips.com. And what that is a document that I spent a bunch of months working on and really putting all of the tools, techniques, tips, and strategies that I've discovered in probably 20-ish years, 18, 20 years of studying personal development and spirituality in that document really help you get what you want out of life and incorporate some of those tools into your daily ritual. These are the best of the best that I've been able to found. So that is available on my website, gmarkphillips.com. All right, well, that is the show. I certainly appreciate for tuning in. And as always, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Thanks so much.